Hey everyone, welcome to Living Pieces. I'm your host, Ruth. So, today's episode is about introducing living pieces. Let's take it back to how the idea Living Pieces came about and why this platform is called Living Pieces. For us to do that, we'll need to understand a little bit about me. Not a lot, don't worry, I'm not going to bore you. But yeah, my name is Ruth and I grew up in England. Growing up, I was passionate about many things, like many things. Anything I could try, I would try it. And I think that's such a great thing to do because it means that, like, I found what I liked, what I disliked, what I thought was okay, what I was like, nah, not for me. But yeah, if I found something interesting, I would most likely try it out. I like to think I have an inquisitive mind and I just like finding out things and figuring them out. But yeah, also growing up, I did spend a lot of time alone. I had people around me, don't get me wrong, but most of the time I was by myself. And I think that's a great thing because it allowed me to just, I guess, go into my mind and think. That's what I would do a lot. But the caveat to that is that if you're not careful, you can go down the rabbit hole and start overthinking, which I may or may not have done a couple times. But yeah, we're not really here to talk about that right now. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And I just like thinking. So I would think about the future. I would think about what I like to do, who I want to be, where I want to go, what I want to see, how I want to live, what impact I want to leave behind, all these type of things, all sorts. Then around 2021, I was thinking about the world. I started thinking about how the world functions, how we all play a part, how each one of us have our own individual lives to live, but we're all connected in some shape or form. I started thinking about people's gifts and their talents and what it is that they offer to the world and to themselves. However, I also thought about society and how society shapes the world and how we shape the collective mind. Well, we are the collective mind, right? And we set the precedent for what's okay and for what's not okay. I also thought about the impact of social media and how, on one hand, social media is a blessing. It's amazing. It's so wonderful. But on the other hand, it can be detrimental. And I mean detrimental. Then I started thinking about jigsaw puzzles. Stay with me now. We're going somewhere with this. I started thinking about how each piece is significant. Because without every piece, you wouldn't have a picture. You wouldn't have the beautiful artwork that you can then look upon and see the beauty and the glory and how wonderful that picture is, right? So here's the thing. Each piece has either like a different shape or a different size or something, or it has like a different drawing on it, different paintings, like on each piece, right? So even though one may or may not look the same in size, it's got something different about it that still makes it unique. Basically, every piece is unique. So the person who's putting the pieces together knows where each piece goes, right? And the designer who manufactured the puzzle pieces made it that way so that the person knows where it goes. And even though one may look similar, like really similar, there's still something about it that is different that will ensure it doesn't get confused fully. Well, at first it might, but later on, with some digging, you figure it out. That type of stuff. So why does this matter? Why is it important? Why should we care? Well, when you think about it, those pieces coming together, like I said, they create the beautiful picture. They create the masterpiece. So what happens when one piece is missing or another piece is broken or another piece is trying to fit into the gap of another piece or is trying to change shape to fit? What happens then? the picture's incomplete because there are gaps, there are holes, there are things missing. Places where someone should fit, they no longer fit because they're trying to change who they are to fit. So you see where I'm going with this? I believe and I think that we are all those individual pieces. We are special, we are unique, we are different, we are unlike any other pieces that are around us, even though we may look similar. Even though there might be certain things about us that look similar, or certain attributes that we have that is similar to somebody else, we are still individual. We are still unique in our own way. We have our own, I guess you could say, quirks, right? And so we, the individual pieces, when we come together with our gifts, with our talents, can't speak, with our talents, with our beauty, our essence, our presence, everything, when we come together, we create the bigger picture. We create this wonderful artwork that we can appreciate, this masterpiece, if you will. And so here's another thing. We are living, we are alive. At least I like to think we are alive. We are the living pieces. So that's kind of how the name kind of came about. Living pieces, because we are each alive, living, breathing, talking, walking, all that type of stuff. And we are pieces of part of a bigger picture. And when we come together, we create that masterpiece. Because the masterpiece is the breathtaking thing that you look at and you're like, wow, that is amazing. But like I said, what happens when a piece is broken, or a piece is missing, or a piece is trying to change its form and it's trying to change its shape to fit somebody else, or to fit something else, to fit a narrative that has been painted by society to say, oh, you must look this way if you want this, this, and this, and this, and that. What happens then, right? You end up bending yourself out of shape just to fit that narrative, forgetting who you truly are. And I think that many of us have forgotten who we are. Maybe some of us, I don't know the number. But I do think that we have forgotten who we are. And so, because of that, there are gaps in the masterpiece. There are gaps in the artwork. Right? And why is it that we've forgotten who we are? I think that's the downside, the caveat that I was talking about social media, how it can be detrimental. Social media is great. Don't get me wrong. I think that social media is a wonderful invention because it connects us, right? You're connected to people all over the world. If you have family in Africa or Asia or somewhere in Europe or wherever in America, you can connect to those people. You can be a part of their lives. You can see what it is that they're doing. You can enjoy their stories, comment, be part of it. And I think that's amazing. And we should definitely still have that because it connects us. But I do think that the negative side to it, the downside, is that sometimes we look at on social media and we see people's finished products. We see people's lives and their things. And we just like, wow, how'd they do that? Like, I want that. Da, 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 da. And so we think that we have to change ourselves in order to get what it is that they got. Again, don't get me wrong. Social media is amazing. You can use those things to inspire you. You can use those things to make you feel great and to just, be inspirational and to just be like, okay, cool. I'm going to try and do what I can or whatever to attain that. But at the same time, I also appreciate what it is that I have. And I think sometimes people don't have that. They don't appreciate necessarily what it is that they have. Because if something wasn't missing in your own backyard, you wouldn't necessarily be looking over the fence to try and look at somebody else's backyard, right? You know when they say the grass isn't always green on the other side? The grass may look different. I mean, it may look green and it may look great, but you don't fully know the full picture. You don't know what it is that they did to get their grass looking the way it is. I know we're talking about grass. It's fine. And so what has happened is because we're doing too much looking over other people's fences, and we're not enjoying and appreciating our fence, our backyard. We're not tending to it. We're not growing it, making it better. We're not being inspired to be like, okay, I see what that person's doing. I'm gonna, add it to my own stuff and just make it better in my own way, being the key point there. We try and make it in their way. But no, you can take an idea and make it your own and make it individual, because we are individual people. And so when you do that, you add it to whatever it is that you're doing and you make it great. However, like I said, some people don't do that. They just try and fully change who they are and reinvent themselves completely, forgetting who they are at the core, at the center. So yeah, and it's not bad to reinvent yourself, but there are still certain things about you that make you unique and make you special, make you quirky, like I said. But then with that quirkiness, I guess what it is that there are some quirky attributes that maybe isn't accepted by social media, by society. And so you feel the need to change that because the collective mind, they don't agree or they don't like necessarily what it is that makes you you. But here's the thing. The quirkiness, the thing that makes you you, is there for a reason. You have that thing for a reason, otherwise you wouldn't have it, right? Because what's the point in having it if I'm not supposed to have it? Like, it's not making sense. So you must have it for a reason. And if you can learn to love that quirky aspects and that quirky attributes about you, more time, other people will start liking it and loving it too. And if they don't like it, well, whatever, you like it. And really and truly, your opinion is the opinion that should matter the most. But yet we make other people's opinion matter more than ours. If you're not harming anybody, if you're not hurting anybody, if it's not bad in any way, shape, or form, I don't see the problem in you loving that aspect of yourself, right? But yet, because other people don't love the aspect of us, we try and change ourselves to fit that. And I'm not saying it's easy. Please don't get it twisted. I'm not saying it's easy. But if we can learn to love those aspects, those things that make us unique, then that would be so awesome. Because what happens when you have 10 corner pieces for a jigsaw puzzle? Only 4 fits. Only 4 fits. So what happens to the rest of them? They just sit on the sideline? Or you try and put them where they're supposed to be, but they don't fit because their shape is different? We have a problem, no? I think we have a problem. And that's what happens when many of us are trying to change our shapes instead of appreciating the shape that we are, that we've been given, that we came here with. Those other pieces no longer have a purpose anymore because they're trying to be something else. And here's the thing as well. When each piece looks different, right? You can appreciate the beauty of each one. You can appreciate each one individually. You can say, wow, that's amazing. You can look at them and be like, okay, that's great. But when one is trying to be the same as something else or somebody else, right? You're now in a way, it's like you're hiding behind them. You're like, okay, well, what do you have that's so special about you? You look like everybody else. So what's different about you? What's special about you? Like, I don't get it. But when you're different, when you stand out, that's amazing. And I know that it could be hard to stand out. Sometimes it's scary because you're like, are they going to accept me? Are they going to love me? Are they going to want me? But you have to remember that you should accept you. You should love you. You should want you. And everybody else that does, that's an added bonus. That's amazing. But you set the foundation. You didn't let somebody else set the foundation for you. And I think that's another thing that a lot of people do. Because when you don't think for yourself, you let other people think for you. Many people don't even know what it is that they truly like, or what it is that makes them them, what it is that makes them unique in their own way. Some do, and if you do, that's amazing. Like, trust me, that's so great. But some don't. because all their lives, they've just let somebody else think for them. They don't think for themselves. And that could be one of two reasons. One, they don't get the option to think for themselves. Or two, they just never thought to think for themselves. And so they let other people think for them. And that is another issue. Because it means that you don't know what you like or dislike or hate or what you stand for. Just different things, right? Again, don't get me wrong though. It's not to say that you can't take on what other people say. Because like I said, we are all connected. But it's about balance. And you are going to hear the word balance a lot on this platform. Like everything, it's balance, 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 Balenciaga, man. Trust me, you need balance, right? So on one hand, it is good to think deep. It is good to go into your mind. It is good to figure out what you like, what you don't like. But on the other hand, yeah, it's good to take it slow, relax, keep the thinking to the shallow end instead of the deep end. It's good to have that. But where it becomes a problem is when one person is just thinking deep and all they do is think deep. They don't relax. They don't let their body just be in a state of flow. And then the other person is always just in a state of flow. So they have nothing to ground them and anchor them to anything. You see how both can be detrimental? It's about finding that sweet spot, that balance where sometimes you let go, you relax, and then sometimes you think deep. And then that's where everything is just amazing. If you let yourself just be someone that doesn't think at all, you end up just drifting about and letting other people think for you. And you don't know what you want to think, right? It's about hearing what other people have to say. Then having that quiet time, that solitude, which is hard to have, when we're inundated by so many things. I understand that. But it's about trying our hardest to find time to have solitude, to think for ourselves and actually take on board what it is that person has said and said, okay, I agree with this aspect. I don't really agree with this part. I think this part could be this part could be that, blah, 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 XYZ, ABC. And so then you're like, okay, cool. Well, this is what I now think. And this is what I agree with. And this is how I want to be. And then when you do it, you talk to someone else. And then you help shape their thinking. They go away. They think for a bit. They accept what they want to accept. Disregard the rest and carry on. Right? And that's how we do it. Because we are all connected. We all help shape each other's lives in some way, shape, or form. We are all included. We are all part of the bigger picture. So, yeah, think for yourself, because it's great to think for yourself. You know what you like. But it doesn't mean that your thinking can't necessarily be influenced by others. Okay? So, yeah. With that being said, this episode is to introduce Living Pieces. It's to help us, this platform will be to help us figure out who we are again, return back to our original, I guess you could say, blueprint. And if you are already at your original blueprint, then hopefully it will be here to help you develop what it is that you already have. Because again, change isn't bad. Change is great. But are you changing yourself completely that you don't even know who you are? Or are you just working on who you are and adapting it and maybe changing certain aspects of it so that it's better? There's a difference, right? So on Living Pieces, we will be here to discuss all things spirituality and self-development. We'll be looking at the inner parts of us, the things that makes us us, the thing that makes us unique. It will be helping you to think more. Like, I'm hoping to just discuss certain things that you can take away and just think, agree with certain parts, leave the rest, make up your own narrative, your own story, share it with someone else, and just carry on doing that. Because the more that we do that, the more that we remember who we are, we appreciate. Because I think that's another thing. We have to appreciate who we are. our beauty, our essence, the thing that makes us us. We have to appreciate that. We have to love that. Because when we love that, we would be willing to stand in that, to stand firm in that, to have a strong foundation. But when we don't love who we are, or, society tells us that we must be something else, even though we don't agree, then we're not anchored to anything. We want to change and become something else. So Living Pieces hopefully will be a place where we can help each other remember who we are. Because bear in mind, like, I might put something out that somebody else comments on and gets me thinking as well. And maybe in a way add their thoughts to my thoughts, right? Because we all shape each other's lives. So Living Pieces isn't necessarily about me. I want to make that clear. It's about us. It's about the living piece. We are all the living pieces. So I'm part of that as well. But like, it's not just about me. It's about all of us. We are the living pieces. And when we come together in our wholeness, in our fullness, in our beauty, we create the masterpiece. We create this wonderful things that we can all appreciate. Right? So yeah, that's pretty much just to introduce Living Pieces. Come along for the ride. Come and enjoy. Come and share your thoughts and your opinions. Like, share the video with someone as well. Discuss it. Talk about it. I say video, it's a podcast. Right? So share it, and yeah, just let's start a conversation about it, and let's just be able to be here for one another and to help each other as best as we can. So guys, I've been Ruth. This has been the introduction to Living Pieces. Stay tuned for more episodes. It's going to be awesome. We're going to dive into everything that I can possibly want to talk about. That makes sense to talk about, right? Thank you for listening, wherever you've been tuning in from, whatever platform you've been listening to this from. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you enjoy, just whatever it is that you're going to be doing after this, right? So thank you so much for listening. Remember, living pieces, together creating a masterpiece. So stay blessed, don't stress, and I will catch you after the test. Bye!